are you? Hope you're all having a good Mother's Day. I was just researching a little bit and I saw something that's kind of disturbing. Um, if I'm going to show you exactly as I see it, I'm going to show you this. Okay, so I was looking up George Floyd's autopsy. George Floyd was murdered by a chauvinistic cop named, coincidentally, Derek Chauvin. I can't even say the word, but this is what bothers me. Okay. I put in this in a Bing search. Well, in Google. I put George Floyd, and this image comes up, and I'm trying to decide. Okay, is that a statue? What is this, right? And so I go like this. Now watch this. It didn't come up. I took a picture of what was coming up because it came up with some something very disturbing. Let me see if I can get it to do it again. Because let's see here. What if we do this? Will this do it? Images. All images. Share. I've got to show you what I saw. Because I wouldn't have believed it had I not seen it myself. Glad I took a picture because maybe it's been fixed. What does it say here if we go here? Okay, here. Okay. It has it correctly. It had something very incorrect. I'm just going to say that. So maybe maybe it was fixed right away. I hope so. I hope that somebody caught their mistake because I was not happy when I saw what I did. Let me see if I can. Oh, it's all looking better. Okay, that's good. I also want to do on his full autopsy. Gosh, I am so glad that's not showing. I do like that they have these other things about him because he was many other things other than what he is remembered for in that last moment. I'm glad that they're doing a better job of putting the whole picture together of who he was. The other thing that I find really interesting, I want to show you this. So he died May 25th, and they put his cause of death as cardiopulmonary arrest due to neck compression. Okay. Well, that's true. There's also something else interesting. Now, there's no doubt that without Derek chauvinistic putting his neck on the ground and then placing his knee in George's neck while he stared at people begging to stop, he looked at them with this look of defiance as he was literally with his knee taking the life away from George Floyd. One of the things interesting is that this grocery store Cup Foods, they're the ones who made the initial call, supposedly saying that that George Floyd had passed a counterfeit $20 bill. Well, we don't have the death penalty for that in our United States. Uh, but that counterfeit $20 bill has not been located. So there's a lot of questions around what initially made the call, if you will. I know a lot because I'm local, so I have to be careful of not saying more of the backstory, more of the rumors that are not able to be confirmed. So that's kind of why I pause sometimes. I'm sorry. I like to be very, very straightforward with you all, but I have to be careful in what I know and can't prove. But I wanted to show you because when he was murdered, it was in the beginning of COVID. And I noticed in his autopsy that his blood was still showing that he had COVID. Now, he had COVID earlier. So the way it was reported is that he had COVID, he was over it. I think he had it tested positive. I'm going to find out when the first time he tested positive for COVID was. But here's this very, very high profile crime with an autopsy that shows that his blood was still showing COVID during that May 25th time. They were telling us, it's just interesting the way all of these things can be learned from George Floyd's death. I believe that there are so many good things that are happening as a result of social justice that would make George proud. I want his family and his soul to know that he did not die in vain. I feel we could have learned a lot more about COVID at that time. And I think that that was being held for us because they weren't really talking about the long term effects of COVID. I have long COVID syndrome, as you guys all know. I have heart complications and I have problems with my speaking, getting the words out from my brain. Okay, here we go. So, Floyd tested positive for coronavirus on April 3rd. Now, it says a postmortem nasal swab confirmed that diagnosis. The report notes that because a positive result for a coronavirus can persist for weeks after the disease has resolved, the result will most likely reflects asymptomatic but persistent positivity from previous infection. That is not what we were being told at all. Because, like I say, here's another lesson we could have learned at the time during the pandemic, and maybe they were noticing that, and maybe they weren't coming forward and saying this. But if George had been sick for how long before he went to a doctor on April 3rd? Because we weren't all just running to the doctor when we got COVID. We thought COVID from the news reports was something different than how it presented. And the way that then it presented, you're just thinking, oh, allergies, cold, flu. And then you're like, am I going to survive this flu? You get to that point and you're like, I'm between life and death very much. It starts out normal, so you don't. I just don't think that they purported that's how it begins. Then you have this flu, and then you have these fevers, and I ended up having COVID-induced meningitis, so headaches that were literally making me feel like I was going to die, with cyclic vomiting on top of it. So I was very, very ill the first time I had COVID. So with George, one could assume that he had been sick maybe since mid February, goes into the doctor, well, mid February, mid March. I don't know. I mean, I guess maybe we can see. I would like to know when he first started feeling symptoms of being sick that made him go to the doctor, is what I'm saying. Because he tested positive April 3rd for COVID. So then in his autopsy, oh, he also had a sickle cell trait. Okay. He had heart disease, hypertension, and sickle cell trait. He was having symptoms of it. Of course, it says, in addition to fentanyl and methamphetamine, the toxicology report from the autopsy showed that Floyd also had cannabinoids in his system when he died. Well, cannabinoids would have probably been helping him a little bit if you look into all that the cannabinoids can do and help the body. I'm not an expert right now. I used to know an awful lot about it, but I don't right now. COVID brain. But if they try and put that in there, it's like, oh, the cannabis, trying to put cannabis. They always try and put cannabis in such a terrible light. However, let me see here. So then there's also this correction. And it says a previous version of the story incorrectly said the autopsy report from the Hennepin County Medical Examiner's Office was dated May 25. The autopsy was not performed until May 26, per the report. The story also incorrectly suggested a preliminary report released on Monday said the autopsy revealed no physical findings that support a diagnosis of traumatic asphyxia or strangulation. Those words were cited last week but were not part of the report released Monday. In addition, the story incorrectly said the charge of second degree murder against Derek Chauvin carries a maximum penalty of 12.5 years in prison. In fact, that charge carries a maximum sentence of only 40 years in prison. Okay, that's also something I was noting because I was noticing the May 25, May 26 thing that was bothering me. I also wanted to show you. Let's see if we go here. Wonder if you see different things that I do based on our locale. If I get more things about George Floyd because I appreciate and research him a lot, or if it's still news. Where, let's see. Yeah, there's something very different, and I'm going to put up a picture of it of what is said earlier. Well, I want this to be known. Let's see. Let's go. There we go. Let's see what the piece of shit's wife just got indicted for. Oh, where do you go? All right, so here we go. Here, a little backstory. I don't know if you guys knew this, but this piece of shit, the one who had neck in George Floyd's his knee in George Floyd's neck. There you go. COVID brain can't say the right words. Oh, sorry. Okay, so this piece of shit was married to her. Okay, she's a local beauty queen, very big in the Hmong. I didn't say that right. Hmong. It's HMOUNG, I think. Community. Okay, so she's very beautiful. She's with him for who knows why this beauty would be with him, right? So the other officer with Derek Chauvin that was standing there, that's her brother. So it was his brother in law sitting there co signing what he's doing there with his knee in George Floyd's neck, looking at everybody like that. One of these things I want to show you guys. Just look at how gross he looks. Well, he is gross. He's just gross. So known for the murder of George Floyd. There you go. He doesn't look good. These mug shots of him. Look at him. You know, when he was sitting there looking into the crowd that was crying and begging him to stop, he had that look of just absolute defiance. He had the look of every single thing that represents the good old boys club that needs to stop. And he doesn't have that look anymore. I don't know how this beady eyed piece of shit ever became a law enforcement officer, but again, how did he get her? Okay. Well, let's see here. Let's see. Because, obviously he thought that somebody passing a counterfeit bill is worth being killed in his eyes. Well, gee, what did his wife just step in? Now, she divorced him right away. It's thought that that was a financial move because of how much he was going to get sued for civilly. And she was rumored to have a lot of money. Well, there you go. So this whole thing started a chain of events that didn't turn out very well for Derek Chauvin in many ways. If you can imagine his cocky ass being in prison, it's probably a daily task to keep him from being unalived, if we want to use that word. So she wants to change her name. She doesn't even want the Chauvin name. Now, this is an old article. It didn't go into what I'm trying to get here, but she was just indicted for. Go over here. Did not bring the most current because there's something here. Wife, let's go charged. The tax. Wife tax. There we go. 2 days ago. There we go. So that's her. Her. She is the same one in the beauty pageants that was married to him. So Derek Chauvin's wife is her. Okay, Kelly Chauvin. Now she wants her name changed and everything because she filed for divorce right after this happened. Remember, her brother-in-law was standing right next to him when he did this. So her family is involved in this as much as he is, and she wants to separate herself from it, but it's not that easy because look at this. Kelly Chauvin, ex-wife of Derek Chauvin, sentenced in tax fraud case. So local lore was questioning how much he had because he was known for being flashy and having money. And police officers do not make a lot of money. They are civil servants, and in all senses of the word, they work hard, and they are worth much more than they are paid per hour. So when you hear about them having a lot of money, they should be investigated. One wonders why he would have taken a call of a counterfeit $20 bill so seriously that in his role he mistreated George. Now, I will do more stories on George Floyd. This is not all inclusive what I'm saying right now. It's just I saw a couple of things I wanted to make sure and point out. I know a lot more than I'm saying, and I will expound on everything that I can. So I know that, the comments will come in and be like, why didn't you mention this? Why didn't you mention this? Oh, wait, that's coming. You know me, backstory Tabby here. I'm going to get you all of that. But I just wanted to make sure that you guys are connecting the headlines because I don't know if they're doing a very good job of that. They mention these things here, but sometimes they fail to really link up what they're talking about. And so I want to make sure that everybody knows that it's likely that in their marriage, he was also living large due to tax evasion. So, what he thought was so important about a counterfeit $20 bill, which how on earth a 911 call would have ever espoused from that is beyond me. You don't call right then. Do you know how many of us unknowingly pass counterfeit bills? We don't know. You could be handed one in change from going to get gas at in the morning, and you don't know, you break 100 whatever, and somebody doesn't know, and there's a good counterfeit. You don't know. I'm sure that a lot of us have unknowingly passed counterfeit bills. It doesn't mean that then we are subjected to death by knee in the throat in the town square. It's funny how he was obviously turning a blind eye towards what his wife was doing, or was he also involved? Oh, here we go. And this goes here. And we say, Kelly Chauvin, ex-wife of Derek Chauvin, sentenced in tax fraud case. Now, could we have been lucky enough that she would be in jail too? And both of these thieves would be in jail? No. She's going to get probation. However, let's check this out. So, part of this news article, it says, has featured video from February when she pleaded guilty. Our news sources, as you can tell, are not very articulate because even noting something like that says featured video is from February when she pleaded guilty. Well, who? Yeah, I guess maybe I'm thinking of my old English teachers would be like, how can you write a sentence like that? Who are you referring to? Blah, 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 blah. Because you should say something else. Anyway, according to Washington County court documents, Kelly Chauvin was sentenced to 20 days in jail and 3 years of probation. She will also need to pay nearly $38,000 in restitution. Kelly Chauvin pleaded guilty in February to 2 felony counts of aiding and abetting tax fraud. As part of her plea deal, additional charges against her were dropped. Tax evasion counts filed in July of 2020 accused Derek and Kelly Chauvin of underreporting their joint income by over 460,000 between 2014 and 2019, including more than $95,000 for Derek Chauvin's off-duty security work. Okay, now I'm going to say something in here. I'm going to put a little asterisk right here. Derek Chauvin's off-duty security work. Do you guys know that? That he worked in a club as an off-duty security officer? Do you know who his co-worker was? None other than George Floyd. Yeah. If you don't know that, you should. He was no stranger to George Floyd. They were co-workers. They both did security at the same club. All of these little things that they like to leave out. At the time, prosecutors said they owed the state more than $37,000, including unpaid taxes, interest, and fees. Huh. Funny how he's so judgmental about a call of somebody passing a counterfeit $20 bill when he himself was doing this. So, okay, so they're, wait a minute. So, tax evasion counts filed, blah, 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 underreporting their joint income by over 460,000 of a period of 5 years. How much money were these people making? And he's a cop, and he's a Minneapolis cop, and doing off-duty security work at a club. Uh-huh. Derek Chauvin, who is currently serving a 2-decade prison sentence for murdering George Floyd, pleaded guilty to the same charges in March. The judge sentenced Chauvin to 13 months in prison to run concurrently with his murder sentence. He was also required to pay restitution. That's it. Like I say, they don't really I guess I'm used to more sophisticated news system as I'm from the West Coast, and so it seems like the way things were listed were different. The story was more put together, if you will. I guess that's why I get frustrated out here, and I have to research so much on my own that I might as well have started a little channel, huh? So I did. A cute little channel. Wink, wink, right? So, just making sure that you all know that this is that and that is this, and it is all going back to that one piece of shit that you saw looking into the camera. I'm going to put a screenshot of the way that Bing had the misinformation next to the picture of that George Floyd statue looking thing. And in another episode, I'm going to read the autopsy. for right now. This will be part one in a multi episode expose, giving the backstory on this piece of shit. Thanks for listening. And again, enjoy the rest of your weekend and happy Mother's Day to all of you. Have a nice night, and I will talk to you soon. Bye bye.